was, you know, it was one of them bad hair days. And I tied a rag on my head, and plus where I was going, you know, I didn't want to be looking, you know, you got to look the part when you go in certain places. And I ran into somebody that comes here occasionally to visit, but it's not a member. And at first I was thinking, should I say anything? Because he kept looking at me and he didn't say nothing. And I knew he had to know, but I'm sure he was thinking, nah, that ain't her. So finally I said, hey, what's up? It's Reverend Mel. He said, woo! Oh, well, hey, you know, it is what it is. I needed some rib tips, honey. I didn't expect to run into you. So you're right. Sometimes different settings, you just can't, you know, connect the dots with people. So anyway, he sent them on their way, and he kept Simeon, who was Leah's second son. And if you look at 23, it says, they did not know that Joseph understood them, since he spoke with them through an interpreter. Because see, now they're like, oh Lord, what's going on? What's going on? But Joseph understood everything they were saying. But he, like you said, he had become so indoctrinated in the Egyptian culture, probably was even wearing makeup, because I think they wore a lot of makeup and things like that. So yeah, you know, so, and the wigs. A lot of jewelry and
absolutely. Because he was a teenager when he first done it.
Exactly, exactly. And he's a man now that has, a young man though, but he's been through a lot, who has been through a lot, you know, so. Okay, so anyway, let's start at, so they're on their way back. Joseph then gave, 25 says, Joseph then gave orders to fill their bags with grain, to return every man's money to his sack and give them provisions for their journey. Let's start at 26. Could somebody read 26 through 28, please?
The brothers loaded their donkeys with the grain they had brought and then left. At the place where they spent the night, one of them opened his sack to feed his donkey and found his money at the top of the sack. My money has been returned to me, he called to the brothers. Here it is in my sack. Their hearts sank, and in fear they asked one another, what has God done to us?
Okay, any comments about that before we move on?
Or guilt is eating them up.
Yes, yes.
Because they had already been accused of being spies, and they knew that they would miss that money.
Okay, 29 through 33.
When they came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened to them, saying, the man, the Lord of the land, spoke harshly to us and charged us with spying on the land. But we said to him, we are honest men, we are not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is no more, and the youngest is now with our father in the land of Canaan. Then the man, the Lord of the land, said to us, by this I shall know that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers with me. Take grain for the famine of your household and go your way.
All right. So they're telling their father what happened. You know, that was scary. He made us go over there to Egypt, and man approaching us and talking crazy and stuff, accusing us of being spies. But he did give us the grain. However, he kept our brother, and now they're getting ready to lay the whammy on him. So can somebody pick up and read the remainder? That would be 34 through 38.
I'm reading the King James Version. And bring your youngest brother unto me, then shall I know that ye are no spies, but that you are true men. So will I deliver you, your brother, and ye shall traffic in the land. And it came to pass, as they emptied their sacks, that behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said unto them, me have ye bereaved of my children. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and ye will take Benjamin away. All these things are against me. And Reuben spake unto his father, saying, Slay my 2 sons, if I bring him not to thee. Deliver him into my hand, and I will bring him to thee again. And he said, My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If mischief befall him by the way in the which ye go, then ye shall bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave.
So Joseph and his brothers had their sacks of money returned. Joseph had the money put back into his brother's sacks. Their father thought one thing, but what do you think were Joseph's motives? Why do you think Joseph did that?
Big payback.
He still had love for his family.
He did have love.
He still had love for his family. Why would he allow his family to starve? And his money couldn't do him no good. That money. So, and then just like in that area, so much had happened. You know, he already was showing love. He had to excuse himself. He got caught up saying, "Wait a minute, excuse me, I'll be back." Had to go gather himself. And then, so what he did is this. He say, if I let all them go back, I may never see them again.
Yeah.
So I got to devise a plan so I can see my family again. Plus, he mentioned his little brother because it was Jacob's youngest son, Benjamin, but it was also Joseph's little brother by the same mother.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And not only that, you know that old saying, blood is thicker than water. You know, he wasn't going to allow his family to pay for anything, and he wasn't going to allow them to starve. You know, but like Greg said, he had to devise a plan to see him again, because he might not, if he let all of them go back, they probably would never come back, especially after being being spies.
Exactly.
There's no way they're going back to the land.
Exactly.
And then what? Just like Jacob, you know what? Sometimes the oldest child, just like the oldest child is in charge or responsible. And you know what? And when Jacob started talking about his loss, I had lost one. Y'all got left my other one up there in Egypt, and so that what happened is Reuben started to feel his responsibility and say, well, if I don't handle this, take my children and do something with them. But I'm gonna take Benjamin, and I'm gonna bring the other one back too. So Reuben had to step up
Again.
Yeah.
Again. Because he was the one that said don't kill him.
Yeah.
But he still got to get Jacob's approval.
Yeah.
So Jacob ain't gave that approval yet.
Yeah.
Right. But of course, now they're scared. They're trying to figure out this is set up. This is set up. He already said we spies, and now our money is in here.
Right.
So that's what I was saying. They were thinking one thing, but of course, Joseph had another reason for that, and it was exactly, I would imagine it was exactly that he wanted to take care of his family, and that was his way to do it. But he knew it was going to mess with him. He knew that. He had already set the stage for that. I still think there's a little bit of, we'll get you back, let you feel a little something. Don't let you
Had to be a little taste of redemption
little
there.
something. Is that okay, Lord? Just a little
I've been
something.
gone for 15 years.
Right. They got to feel a little something now. Amen. Okay, so now they're back there. Daddy is saying, y'all not taking Benjamin. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. Well, when we get to 43, something, causes him to change his mind. I'm going to read through this quickly because, again, we have quite a bit to cover. The famine was severe. I'm reading from the Common English Bible. The famine was severe in the land, and when they had eaten all the grain that they brought from Egypt, their father said to them, go back and buy us a little food. Judah said to him, that man was absolutely serious when he said, you may not see me again until your brother is with you. If you agree to send our brother with us, then we will go down and buy you food. But if you don't agree to send him, then we can't go down, because the man said to us, you may not see me again without your brother with you. Israel said, why have you caused me such pain by telling the man you had another brother? So he had to let him go because they had run out of food. Okay, so now let's skip over to verse 11. Their father Israel said to them, if it has to be, then do this. Take in your bags some of the land's choice produce and bring it down to the man as a gift, a little medicinal resin, a little honey, gum, pistachios, almonds, resin. Take twice as much silver with you, and take back the silver returned in the top of your sacks. It might have been a mistake. And take your brother, get ready, and go back to the man. May God Almighty make the man compassionate toward you, so that he may send back your other brother and Benjamin with you. But me, if I'm left childless, then I'm left childless. So they took everything and they went on. Let's go to 24, and if somebody would pick that up and read through 28.
And when it came to pass, when we came up until thy servant, my father, we told him the words of the Lord. And our father said, go again and buy us a little food. And we said, we cannot go down unless our youngest brother go. Am I in the right place?
Verse 24.
Start at 24.
Start at 24.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. I said 26, but that's fine.
Oh, okay. I thought
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. But then it says at 26, it said, we said we cannot go down if our youngest brother be with us. Then will we go down, for we may not see the man's face except our youngest brother be with us. And thy servant, my father, said unto us, ye know that my wife bare me 2 sons, and the one went out from me, and I said, surely he is torn in pieces, and I saw him not since.
Now, you in chapter 43.
No.
Oh, I'm in 44. Oh, okay.
I'm looking like, what?
Yeah, read.
Okay, somebody else want to pick up while he's finding it. 43, verse 26.
Okay, the man. Oh, okay, I
Verse
see.
26.
Yeah.
And when Joseph came home, they brought him the presents which was in their hand into the house, and bowed themselves to him to the earth. And he asked them of their welfare, and said, is your father well? The old man of whom ye spake, is he yet alive? And they answered, thy servant, our father, is in good health. He is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance.
Obeisance, yeah.
And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, is this your younger brother of whom ye spake unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother. And he sought where to weep, and he entered into his chamber and wept there. Keep going.
Yeah, go ahead. You can finish.
And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and said, set on bread. And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians which did eat with him by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptians. And they set before him the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men marveled one at another. And he took and sent messes unto them from before him. But Benjamin's mess was 5 times so much as any of theirs. And they drank and were merry with him.
So that's the part that Greg was talking about, how
Yeah.
he became so overwhelmed at seeing, it's probably looking at his mother, looking in his mother's face, who he had not seen. And he had to excuse himself. But then they began to eat, and they took portions from his table because they were separate, like we talked about earlier. And I read something that said Egyptians believed that they were gods. So anybody else was beneath them. So
Right.
that was why they could not, you know, fraternize.
So when he saw his brother, he said, "Hey, it's party time.
Yes.
Let's party. That's my little brother."
Yes.
And everything. And he invited them on in and said, "Let's party," and everything. And you know what? You know, this whole thing about where he continued to ask about his father, and then he was just in a good place once he saw his younger brother.
And they still haven't connected.
Right.
That's what's amazing. Why is he asking about our father? That really should have gone through their mind.
And something should have clicked. you know,
Yeah, yeah.
This is an unusual situation here.
Right, right,
And,
right.
and nobody picking up on it.
Right.
And then, you know, you
Let's
would
see.
think that I know Joseph has been away for a long time, but you would have thought one of them would have recognized some kind of glimpse of him that possibly being Joseph.
That's what I said. I just can't even imagine. I don't care how long I've been away from my sisters, that I would not. But I get what you're saying. But then that's somebody that is not related to you. But
And then he set him in birth order too.
Yeah.
yes.
And
yes,
they thought about that, like,
yes.
you know, so they still couldn't put it together.
And then we believe what we want to believe. You know what? When we believe someone is dead, they're dead.
Jim?
But there's a certain physical metamorphosis that a person goes through as they get older. You know, for example, some people's structure literally changes. Their
Yes.
face gets wide.
Yeah.
You know, and in 15 years, he doesn't look the same because he's matured. You know, plus he shaved off all the outward manifestations of his man. You know, he was bald-headed. You know, he had on makeup. You know, he had on these clothes. He pretended not to understand the language. He was so assimilated that he could have easily fooled. And there's evidence today that people have done it. You know, people who are wanted for certain crimes and managed to stay out of the eye for that long because they totally changed their appearance. We have plastic surgeons, of course, they help them along. But there are people who have changed it in other ways.
They knew him in the natural. So when
wow, go ahead, girl. Go ahead. Get deep on us.
So in his transformation from being just known as a Hebrew to him in the courts of Egyptians, everything that he's wearing is he may have features that you know, he looked familiar, but with everything that's going on and everything, you know, maybe it was something because now they feel in their heart like, oh man, you know, everything is being put on us because what we did in the past. They probably looking at him like, dang, he kind of resemble our brother, and that's even making us feel, you know, even more, even worse because, you know, we did something bad.
Yeah,
You know what?
he could be our brother. He looks like he could be about our brother's age if he was still
But he
around.
didn't even have to resemble them. The only one that he could resemble could have been
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
True.
Because they were like, all of them had different mothers.
But I'm just still thinking that whether they recognized him in the natural or not, the things he was asking, the sitting them in birth order and all that kind of stuff, something should have clicked. I think they were too scared.
I think they was too shook up.
Yeah.
I think because we got the book and we know the story.
Well, yeah, true that. Yeah. You're right. We got the book. They ain't had a book.
They had
Okay. Well, let's go on to chapter 44 because we still have 3 more chapters. So now they're partying. They are having a good time and all of that. And so chapter 44 says, then he commanded the steward of his house, fill the men's sack with food, as much as they can carry, and put each man's money in the top of his sack. Put my cup, the silver cup, in the top of the sack of the youngest with his money for grain. And he did as Joseph told him. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away with their donkeys. When they had gone only a short distance from the city, Joseph said to his stewards, "Go, follow after the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, 'Why have you returned evil for good? Why have you stolen my silver cup? It is not from this that my Lord drinks. Does he not intend to use it for divination? You have done wrong in doing this.'" And why don't we do something now? Why don't we just read silently verses 6 through 17, and then we'll pick it back up. Verses 6 through 17. So we're going to come back together. So now they're back in Joseph's house. They've been intercepted. They've been accused of stealing and something very valuable. And now they've been brought back to Joseph's house. Jerry, would you start? Does anybody have a comment?
Well, I was going to ask, why did Joseph do that?
Well, he let Benjamin go back now.
At first.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that the same thing that Greg said already, that he knows, one of you all said, he knows that he's not going to see them.
Mm-hmm.
So now the trick is, now you got to get the daddy there.
Right.
Yeah, now you gotta get.
Now you got to get his daddy there. I mean, Joseph is something else. He's something else. So they come back to the house, and now I can't even imagine. They was probably sweating bullets. But they come back to the house, and Joseph makes the accusation again. And then, Jerry, would you pick up with 18 and read through the rest of the chapter?
Judah went up to Joseph and said, "Please, sir, allow me to speak with you freely. Don't be angry with me. You are like the king himself. Sir, you asked us, do we have a father or another brother? We answered, we have a father who is old and a younger brother born to him in his old age. The boy's brother is dead, and he is the only one of his mother's children still alive. His father loves him very much. Sir, you told us to bring him here so that you could see him. And we answered that the boy could not leave his father. If he did, his father would die." Then they said, "You will not be admitted to my presence again unless your youngest brother comes with you." Then when we went back to our father, we told him that you had what you had said. Then he told us to return and buy a little food. We answered, "We cannot go. We will not be admitted to the man's presence unless our youngest brother is with us. We can go only if your youngest brother goes." Our father said to us, "You know that my wife Rachel bore me only 2 sons. One of them has already left me. He must have been torn to pieces by wild animals, because I have not seen him since he left. If you take this one from me now and something happens to him, the sorrow you would cause me would kill me as old as I am. And now, sir," Judah continued, If I go back to my father without the boy, as soon as he sees that the boy is not with me, he will die. His life is wrapped up with the life of, excuse me, y'all. With the life of the boy, and he is so old that the sorrow we would cause him would kill him. What is more, I pledged my life to my father for the boy. I told him that if I did not bring the boy back to him, I would bear the blame all my life. And now, sir, I will stay here as your slave in place of the boy. Let him go back with his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? I cannot bear to see this disaster come upon my father. That's the good news, Bible.
So, Judah, please. Is there anything significant about that? Judah says, I'll stay. I'll be your slave.
Mm-hmm. He was the one that wanted to throw him in this
Yeah.
hole.
Yeah. Yeah. Turnabout.
Mm-hmm.
Turn it all the way around.
And you see, he's actually grown up because he didn't care what his father thought when he threw Joseph in there.
Yeah, exactly.
And now he's older and got children of his own.
Right.
And so, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
And
So-
not only that, he probably saw the anguish that his father went through
Mm-hmm.
with Joseph
Yeah.
being gone. And now to not get Benjamin back would have, like he said, just destroyed him.
Well, and not that he saw the anguish, he lived the anguish, because Jacob never was the same since once they found out, when they thought that he had been killed by beasts. He continued to grieve.
And and some of us might know of or even have family members who have lost a child. And I understand that is the worst loss that you could ever encounter. So yeah, you're absolutely right. He probably was never the same. You know. Any other comments? Okay. Well, why is forgiveness so important?
I think it relieves the person who had that needed to forgive them for what they did. It could be a heavy burden on us. And then the Bible tells us that we must forgive for us to be forgiven.
It says that very clearly. That is so amazing, the number of people that cannot let go of grievances, cannot let go of things that somebody has done, and continues to stoke the fire, even though the word says that, even though we know that Jesus went to the cross for us so that we could have forgiveness, so that we would not have to carry that burden of life. So the other part of my question says, what does forgiveness look and or feel like? It makes you lighter.
Yes.
Your face is not all contorted, because when you have not forgiven, when you're carrying around unforgiveness, it affects you. Your look is not the look of somebody that is okay. I remember a while back, a very dear friend of mine who was also a minister said that she was ill all the time, and she realized through prayer and talking to others in the Word that the root of her sickness was her unforgiveness toward her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law had done something to her that was really grievous. It was horrible. And she had not let go of it, even though she had continued to be in her presence, and go along to get along and all of that kind of stuff. But there was something inside of her that still harbored some strong anger toward her. And she needed to work on that. So what she did was, in conjunction with her working on her need to forgive, she developed a class and she taught it. And that also helped her. But she helped a lot of other people. And I remember very clearly going to somebody that I knew and saying, you need to take that class because you're wearing something all over you. And after the class was over, she thanked me because she was unforgiving toward an ex-husband. And it was causing her to act real ugly to people, you know? Yeah.
Personal experience. I was in a situation last year and I held this anger over this person's head for a whole year. Well, almost a whole year. And this year, all I said is better me change. You know, I can't hold the things that I held on to last year and bring it to this year and feel that I'll be a better person and do better. So one of the few things that I've done so far is I went to this individual because I had to see this person all the time. I went to that person and I sat down and I told them, I said, this is how I feel right now. This is what I was going through. This is how you make me feel. I said, but I can't hold this anymore and I need you to understand. And after that they said, I could tell something was different. I didn't know that this is what you was holding on to. I didn't even know I made you feel that way. And that I felt so much better. I was able to exhale. That's what I feel forgiveness is, exhaling. You're no longer holding in that breath of anger and envy or whatever it is that you're holding on to, you're releasing it. And that was the best feeling that I felt in the whole year. So yeah. So that's
what do you think made you come to that? You just happened to wake up one day and decided you needed to let it go?
Yeah, I had to let it go. Like I said, I can't be better if I'm angry and upset and resent, someone that I have to see, when I have to see them and everything else. I'm a person that I'm honest. I'm quiet, but I'm honest. And I can't wear a mask too long without having to express myself fully. And I was like, I understand how sometimes when you talk to someone, they may perceive something one way while you're perceiving it a whole different way. And I felt that it was unfair for me to hold this in this person not knowing, this is what I'm feeling. I'm like, why am I angry by myself? Let me open
And
the
then
door.
you found out they didn't even know what was going on with you. Yeah. Yeah.
I think also too that forgiveness adds to your life.
It does.
I truly believe that, and I've experienced it for myself, and I believe, me personally, I believe that I am one to easily forgive, and it's because of the Bible, because of God being in my life, because when I go to God and ask for forgiveness, I don't want Him to hold that back from me. So I make it my business to try to forgive quick, fast, and in a hurry.
And the quick, fast, and in a hurry is different for everybody. Depending upon what was done to you, or if you got to keep having contact with that person. And sometimes that wound keeps getting opened up, because you're constantly in contact with that person. But you've got to remember the words we talked about, the scriptures, and what will happen, because you're right. Unforgiveness will make you sick, and that's real talk. And that's what I was saying. My girlfriend realized that she was going to the doctor too much, and many times the doctor was saying, I don't see that, what you're talking about. I don't know what to prescribe for you for that, because it was not physical. It was emotional and spiritual. She had allowed that unforgiveness to eat away at her. And the moment that she recognized that, or was open to receive it, she got free. And then she wanted to share what she got with other people. Amen. So anyway, Judah has made this impassioned plea to Joseph to please don't do anything to Jacob. So let us go on to 45, and that's probably all we're going to get done today, and we'll finish the rest of it next week. Would somebody please start reading, and we'll do as much as we can. Chapter 45.
Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, "Cause every man to go out from me." And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brother. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brother, I am Joseph. Do my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said unto his brother, Come near me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Now be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that ye sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years had the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in which there shall neither be earning nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you for a prosperity in the earth, and to save your lives by the great deliverance. So now it was not you that sent me here, but God. And he made me a father to Pharaoh, and the Lord of all his house, and the ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Haste ye and go to my father, and say unto him, Thus said thy son Joseph, God hath made thee Lord of all Egypt. Come down unto me, and tarry not.
Okay, you stop there. So he's told him. He couldn't take it no longer. He has told him. Now, we ain't heard nothing they saying. They ain't said nothing yet. Because I'm sure they're still like, their mouths are hanging open. And now they're probably beginning to connect some dots. That's why. That's why. So now he just wants to know about his dad. And now he says, go get our father. Go get our father and do not delay. And then picking up with verse 10, he says, You shall settle in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near me, you and your children and your children's children, as well as your flock, your herds, and all that you have. I will provide for you there, since there are 5 more years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all that you have will not come to poverty. And now your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is my own mouth that speaks to you. You must tell my father how greatly I am honored in Egypt, and all that you have seen. Hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, while Benjamin wept upon his neck. I want to stop there, and we'll pick up, because I want to talk about one of the questions, at least, for that chapter. When Joseph revealed himself to his brothers, before they could say anything, he said, don't starve. You know, it's not necessary. Because had you not done what you did, I would not be here. I'm sure he has more than he probably ever would have had.
Oh, yeah.
Because if he had stayed there, he would have been in a famine too, you know, and maybe and there might not have been one like Joseph, you know. I used to tell my staff when I would be threatened I was gonna leave, right? I was talking about leaving for like 5 years. I'm gone. I'm out of here. But seriously, I would tell them, because some of them, their jobs were not secure. And I would try to encourage them, go back to school. You know, go back to school. do something else or try to think about some other things. It said, because there will come a Pharaoh that does not know Joseph. And that was my line. I'd start the meetings. Now the ones that knew the Lord, they would be like, uh-oh. The other ones would be sitting there like, what you talking about? What you talking about, Willis? And that's how I would start. There will soon be a Pharaoh that does not know Joseph. So you better get your life together. I'm giving you warning because I'm about to get out of here. So how do we gain that kind of perspective that Joseph had? How do we get that? How do we get to that place in life when people have done things to us, but yet we're able to see how God has moved despite what they did and because of what they've done, and be able to, we got the opportunity, we could really do something to you. We could really work you, but I'm not.
Because he knows, first of all, that God wouldn't be pleased with him doing that. Because he understood that it was God's plan all along for this to happen the way that it happened. And I love the fact that he relieved his brothers of guilt immediately by telling them this was God's plan. This, even though you thought that you was doing this, it was all in God's plan for this to happen. God had planned this out before we even entered into the earth.
Yes.
To show the power of God. He honors God in the best way you can honor him, by letting us know that God has a plan. And if we allow him to work on us, we can enter into that plan and know that it's God's plan that's working.
But you know what, when he removed all of the Egyptians out of the room and everything, so that he could show them and communicate them to the point to where, because there could have been some skepticism in his brothers and them thought, or their belief factor. He said, no, this can't be our brother. So he had to show them, the theologians, they said that he had to prove to them that he was an Hebrew. And they had kept that's why he had to remove the Egyptians out, the other Egyptians out, so that he could
be real.
Yeah.
So he could be real.
Mm-hmm.
Here he is, the high, he's over everything, so he can't show any vulnerability in front of them. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, it's time for us to close, and we got to a really good part, because he's told them that they are going to inhabit a land called Goshen. And I don't know if you've ever heard Donald Lawrence's new song about Goshen, but if you haven't, I want you to listen to it before next Thursday. Amen. And I will probably start the class by playing that, because Goshen is important. He didn't just put them anywhere. He put them in Goshen. So those of you that are watching us in the World Wide Web, we pray Goshen on your lives, that God give you a piece of Goshen as you go forth, and that if you are able to join us next Thursday as we wrap up the Path to Greatness, the life of Joseph, we will be so honored. But if not, we would love to see you on any Sunday, 9:30 Sunday school, 11 o'clock worship. Grace United Church of Christ Bible Study signing off, 2500 223rd Street, Sauk Village, Illinois.